The Mining Dead is a Minecraft multiplayer server that brings The Walking Dead to life with player versus player combat, many iconic locations from across the franchise, a unique survival system, and much more. To experience it like never before, on day 0 I gave up everything. My top 10 spot on the leaderboard with over $20 million, 2 bases, and all other items I owned. All of this just to try struggling for 100 days with no commands like some lunatic. And when it was all over, I gave everything away again. So with that, lights, camera, action. On day 1, I spawned into the Berkeley safe zone with nothing to my name. I did have one plan though. I set out to CDC, one of the 6 major looting areas on the server, and in my opinion, the only one where a commandless peasant like me could score starter gear without being instantly deleted. Don't worry though, we will show all 6 of these loot areas before day 100. The CDC, or the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, is one of the biggest failures of an institution in a zombie apocalypse. But it only takes about 4 minutes to loot, and gives us the highest tier weapons that can be obtained without any rank help. The place was dead empty. 2 loot rounds later, I had grabbed enough for a few sets of Commonwealth and was looking way less pathetic. With this, we were ready to try some more dangerous loot areas, but this is where the first issues began to happen. For days 2 to 4, no commands was no joke. There was no messaging, rank abilities like /near or /needs, and no /safe zone. Every time I needed to go to a safe place to drop off loot, it was anxiously fiddling with the teleportation sign as every PvP gamer was looking for my name tag. It wasn't the greatest of feelings. Food and water were crucial to staying alive, and at any moment a player could sneak up and take me out. It would be nice if I was talking about like taking me out for a night out at a pizza place, but no, I was the pizza and they were the cutters. The worst part was the walk of shame. With no ability to warp to areas on the map, I ran thousands of blocks on foot to get to the high-value looting areas of Sanctuary and eventually Fort Benning. The first trip was for nothing. After looting for a cycle at Negan's Sanctuary, I ended up being double-teamed. Not only was I in the lower tier Commonwealth armor, but they showed up in tier 5 protection Juggernaut armor. I then ran the 1,000 miles again, leaving Sanctuary to those bubble buddies, and going to the Loot Vault of Dreams at Fort Benning. Upon entering the vault, a player named Y7Q was already there and came after me. To add insult to injury, this was a gamer that participated and won some of my $1 million drops on day 0. I was not going down easily after a 2,000 block walk. He started firing his lasers, but through some quick thinking and jumping around like some sort of ninja, I somehow dodged bullets and escaped, ending day 4 on the homepage. Although, this was not the last we would see of Y7Q. Days 5 to 8 were a classic start to building momentum. I began farming Fort Benning like a tractor. But on my last looting trip, a random named GG Sayer popped into the tower and gave me a free ticket back to spawn. The struggle was real. I was already dreading that 1,000 block run again. So just to give you an idea of what's possible if commands weren't restricted for me, normally, players with mythical rank have access to perks like /near, which reveals nearby players, and in especially dangerous situations, /safe zone to instantly teleport to a safe spot. Awful cheating pay-to-wins, right? But here's the twist. On this server, it's not necessarily like that. I have the mythical rank, and I spent exactly $0 on the Mining Dead. Remember though, I can't use the best of the perks given a lockdown on command during this challenge. I only bring this up because after getting absolutely wrecked at Fort Benning, I stumbled across a workaround that lets you snag extra items without using a single command. Even better, it can net you a $20 voucher to boost your rank. No real money needed. Turns out there are specific blocks and NPCs you can right-click to access various server goodies. The ones I found? The Vote enchantment table in the Trav safe zone, and an NPC that gives item kits after you die. Between the two, I scored some crates, my first golden weapon, and a Juggernaut chestplate. Not bad, especially considering that during these days I had failed on my quest to find any Whisperer masks. On days 9, 10, and 11, I went full gremlin mode. It was loot, sell, repeat. With a double money booster active, I sold everything I could spare, stacking my first $140,000. This was without even using the command /AH, which opens the auction house. Every trade had to be made player to player and was very old school. I would sneak into safe zones or use a fine and dandy Red Dead Redemption looking NPC to fast travel, and I would trade players by shift right clicking them. I was making money, slowly, painfully, and yes, legally. But no matter how hard these 100 days got, I was not just fighting for myself, I was fighting to give something back for the amazing memories. For days 12 to 14, it was powered by two things: bulk buying 7 sets of Juggernaut armor, like I was a tank, and wasting my life chasing Whisperer masks that didn't even work. Yeah, it took me about 70 days to get that into my thick brain. Hilltop had 0 Whisperer mask drops. I basically pulled the classic gamer move of spending hours grinding like crazy for an achievement, only to realize I had been farming all the wrong things the whole time. Sometimes the struggle isn't hard, it's just sad. Days 15 to 20 were more of a redemption arc though. I did my first power plant run for these 100 days. It is nice to mix it up a little bit sometimes, especially as players are scavenging the other 2 major looting areas within the Viscosil locations. But then, I ran into a TP trap squad. You know, the ones saying, "Teleport to me for free loot!" And then they give unsuspecting individuals who teleport to them a death sandwich. Not something I do or fall for, so I returned and flipped some of those Juggernaut sets for profit. After that, I did some fort banning runs and just printed money. By day 20, I was sitting with over $600,000. That is 4 times more than my previous cash reserves. Now, at least as I struggle, I have hard cash to cry into. These last 10 days were filled with some losses, but I was dedicated to completing this challenge. But nothing prepared me for these next 10 days. Days 21 to 30 can be defined as setback after setback. I tried looting Asylum for the first time and was doing great. However, after getting a good amount of loot, some bubble buddies got me while in the bathroom. It was ridiculous, I was mid-wipe. Next came humiliation. I wasted a kit grabbing a hunter compass from the NPC at spawn. I figured the compass would help me keep track of anyone who got close as I was looting Sanctuary. Not a command, but an ability to see nearby players. It did not save me. I got dropped by Y7Q in the most frustrating way possible. Discord started cheering me on to get good because, to be real, it was embarrassing to die like I did. Which, you know, fair, please forgive me, my PvP skills are a 2 out of 10 at this point. But maybe Sanctuary's just cursed. In a moment of questionable judgment, I equipped the Golden AK. Undisputed bottom tier weapon, and I tried my luck. A newer player turned on me, and I got dropped while wielding what might as well have been a french fry with a trigger. Honestly, I couldn't have picked a worse time to roleplay as Dollar Store Rambo. Anyways, this is when I knew I had to salvage these last 10 days somehow. So I called in some backup. Pipe Down has entered the battle. Yes, my bubble buddy. We then stuck it to Y7Q. See, Y7Q tried extorting me after dying to him earlier. He said if I paid him $50,000, he would stop hunting me and provide protection. This is called racketeering in real life, and is turbo illegal. Anyways, instead, with Pipe Down's help, we got revenge on Y7Q. Not in the Mining Dad's usual way of taking him out while looting, but in the war of words. Pipe Down started hunting him. Y7Q then started begging Pipe Down to stop hunting him and asked why he couldn't just ignore him. Pipe Down just hit him with his own line saying $50,000 for protection. Y7Q went dead silent after this, disappearing like a ghost and was no longer a threat. Well, weirdly enough, Y7Q did call me Big Daddy before disappearing. I'll count that as a win. And that is not all. During this drama, I did discover an NPC that unlocks warp access. Again, with no commands needed. That discovery alone felt like a massive weight lifted off my chest. No more walking thousands of blocks just to reach decent loot zones and then die shortly after. On top of all that, I somehow pulled off a trivia win for $200,000, snagged a $20 in real life voucher to give away, and despite losing $250,000 in failure, I still closed out day 30 sitting on $640,000. That was a net gain of $40,000 over 10 days, even after tossing some cash to Pipe Down for his backup as an ally. I finished day 30 getting some loot crates and stocking up for my mission to improve my PvP skills. Doing so, I would never let these major setbacks happen again. Days 31 to 50 began my training arc. I teamed up with some of the server's seasoned veterans, finally nailing down combos that actually worked for my playstyle. At one point, I even scouted a war brewing between two factions. But out of respect, I stayed out of it. No scumming for me, I wasn't about to go in and jack someone else's well-earned rewards. During this time, I did score some 1v1 wins, sold on another double money booster, and looted during a legendary loot booster. To round things out and show everything this server has, I rolled with a crew and went full-on player hunting across the map. Not gonna lie, there were some painfully embarrassing moments. I got clowned on hard a couple of times, but it all was in preparation to participate in our first raid on someone's base during these 100 days. All of this gave me enough confidence to say my PvP skills have increased from a good 2 out of 10 to a 4 out of 10. I'm still fumbling hotkeys and my timing's a work in progress, but I'm not just a walking loot bag anymore. Best of all, I did it all without convenient commands, while still experiencing what the Mining Dead has to offer. So before our next chapter, here's a TMD montage of that PvP grind. Also, somewhere in the blur of these 30 to 50 days, I peeked my head into the prison looting area. Technically one of the major 6, but it is meh. Just eh. It is unsafe and has poor profits. But there it stands. It definitely acts more as a PvP war hotspot than an actual profitable area. And apparently I am allergic to luck. This second half of the 100 days started with some more scavenging when a legendary loot booster was popped. CDC was a target of mine for a bit, but I got bored and didn't learn my lesson at Sanctuary. Upon leaving with 3 duffel bags, I was double teamed by bubble buddies on motorcycle, and even among my best efforts, was unable to secure escape. This did not deter me though, as I called in the cavalry of alliances I had made during my training arc. Lil Boom, Maylens, Dirty Cheese, and Leo were among these giga gamers. Together we locked areas down. In the midst of days 57 to 64, I hit $1.5 million. But another struggle happened. As Leo and I were heading into the power plant, we got in a fight with a character named Fortnite Skin, and got lagged out while fighting. Maybe the admins will have mercy and return those items, but needless to say, it was a big, cursed internet fat L. Thanks, interwebs. And then to finish it all off, while chilling in the Tomoa Discord, another racketeering attempt occurred. Eve showed up like a cartoon villain. He announced his presence and big evil plan. He and his goon were en route to Fort Benning. He wanted our loot, trying to threaten me to pay him cash for his mercy.
You mind giving me all your stuff?
Leo and I bluffed and acted friendly in the chat. Keep in mind, ETH participates in wars and 1v1s constantly. I am a 4 out of 10 in PvP and have participated in 1.5 wars. There was no way Leo and I could risk the bags we secured in a one-sided fight. Hearing this, secretly Leo and I were instantly leaving to get to a safe zone. Leo, sadly like a tragic hero, distracted and fought these bandits, dying in the process. His sacrifice is remembered as I repaid his lost items. And especially since this legend kept looting with me off and on throughout the remainder of these last 33 days. So Leo, if you are watching, you are the Leo of action. Thank you for being a true noble tank. And ETH, sorry if you are watching, you lost out on $100,000 of loot. After Leo's heroic sacrifice, in a case of comedic irony and the impact of a million facepalms, I actually got lost on the way back to a safe zone. I was already risking a lot. I traveled by bike everywhere, sweating and clenching my butt cheeks. I finally came upon a beacon. This is an extraction point, and if I survived for a few minutes, it would teleport me to one of the common safe zones. And miraculously, I survived. $100,000 of loot secured. But that moment did more than just save me. It reminded me that I was not alone. There is a solid community of allies behind me, real teammates willing to assist in this struggle. By days 65 to 70, I was a millionaire, had survived ambushes, lag deaths, and racketeering schemes. So naturally, I decided to do what some may call a midlife crisis. Well, this time a mid-100 days apocalypse crisis. I packed up armor, weapons, food, water, and a compass and went on a break from just surviving, and I started living. I traveled exploring incredible Walking Dead-inspired locations like Gabriel's Church, The Grove, found an oil rig, Station 12, Vault 99, I dive bombed the volcano near Asylum, the Unalive floor, Terminus, and many more iconic locations. These were cinematic set pieces built by dedicated builders and fans of The Walking Dead. Somewhere along the way, I thought, why not? And took on a slightly saner version of a completely bonkers challenge. A madman named Narkle in my Discord suggested I say The Mining Dead non-stop for 8 hours, all live. I took one look at that and decided I wasn't about to obliterate what's left of my sanity. But, in his honor, and while I was on the move searching these locations, I did chant it for a glorious 8 minutes straight. The Mining Dead. The Mining Dead. The Mining Dead. No, it wasn't live. Yes, I do have the footage in case anyone wants to call my bluff. So there you go, you crazy recommendations, peoples. And while reminiscing, I even conquered a parkour obstacle course, a challenge built by an admin as a passion project. It was a fun detour, and honestly by this point the lack of commands had faded into more mild inconvenience than a real game-breaking rule. There was one major pain still. When players would message me privately, with no access to replies, I had to respond awkwardly in public chat by dodging spoilers and sensitive info with vague roundabout messages. It was like I was diffusing some social anxiety bomb. It's funny how I never imagined /R would become the command I would miss the most. Well, until a little bit later. After the midlife crisis, I locked in and went feral. If you have ever seen that guy going absolutely crazy with keyboard inputs and red shot eyes, yeah, that was me. It was my goal to double my money and show any merciless player what I was made of. This was not without error, as remember, my PvP skills are still a 4 out of 10, not a very legendary skill level, but this would not stop my rampage. With days 71 to 91, I hardcore looted. I looted with an actual admin named Jam, an absolute goat by the way. I found a hidden spot at Power Plant, shout out to the YouTube comments for that one. I ran the usual circuit, fort banning, sanctuary, power plant, loot, rinse, repeat. I even traveled the long route to Asylum where a player named Drip showed me a few secret spots. Honestly, Asylum feels more like a loot holiday than a regular area. Very beautiful views, brutal commute. During this 20-day period, I also snagged a weapon supply drop and finally started winning some skirmishes. Caddy didn't expect to see the good old Gatling in the corner strategy. He got his revenge a bit later, but I closed the rivalry out with a 2 wins and 1 loss with a clutch battle at CDC. There was tragedy here though. On my way into the Berksley safe zone, with Caddy's golden katana, his loot, and a full bag of supplies, I got sloppy. With seconds left until safety, someone looking like Reptar came out of nowhere and comboed me to dust without hesitation. Bad luck and terrible timing. No command to save me. If only I had /safe zone, I would have been home free long before that little dinosaur showed up. That was the moment the lack of commands hit hardest. RIP indeed, Dino Man. Anyway, he went AFK after that emotional damage, and for all I know, Dino was somewhere licking bricks like they might patch over the cities and Tomoas he had laid to waste. If I ever cross paths with that little green menace again, we're throwing hands in a parking lot. The final 10 days. Still short of my goal of hitting the $3 million mark, and still too much left to see. I hit up the Havoc and TMD Discords for suggestions. There was incredible feedback from Proxamo, Maximus Magnus, and Jam. For the first few days of 92, 93, and day 94, I followed all the suggestions, checking out a portal Easter egg location, helicopter crash, the admin tower, and I even found a UFO that the builders have near power plant for some reason. Then in true 11:50 p.m. at night panic, before an assignment is due at 11:59, I called in every favor. Fort Benning turned into a loot machine, with 5, maybe 6 of us locking it down during a legendary booster. I was grabbing bag after bag, with days 95 to 98 passing by in a blur of adrenaline and gunfire. On day 99, it was done. $3 million hit. Goals shattered. I started from nothing, got hunted, extorted, ambushed, and still survived. But I was not done yet. With seconds left on the 100-day timer, I returned to a place that symbolized persistence and payoff. I parkoured my way to the top of the power plant with a friend who embodied the allies I made along the way, since not all of them were online. We reached the peak to watch the sunrise from the rim of a nuclear reactor. And then, a few real-life days after this challenge was completed, I gave back to the community that stood with me through it all. Thank you, the Mining Dead, for the memories, the drama, and these great 100 days I will never forget. So why did I do all this? To prove that rank or no rank, stranger or friend, you can rise up, thrive, and through persistence, reach your goals. One day a player is trying to coerce you for a bribe, and then the next day they call you Big Daddy. Thanks for being part of the action. More wild challenges are coming for all your favorite games. Join the Tomoa Discord, click that subscribe button, and become a player of action in this wholesome and goofy community. It has been an honor struggling beside you all. And with that, catch you next time, and bye-bye.